Before she kills us, she has brought hell to heaven. She must be punished. She must be.
Wow. Wow. I don't
And then
want the story to end.
and that's
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Parenthoot. Today is a very special day for me. This is our 50th episode, a golden jubilee moment in the life of this little podcast that began as an experiment in conversation and has grown into a warm, thriving space where parents, caregivers, and families have shared their stories with honesty and courage. So it felt only fitting that for this milestone, we celebrate another kind of golden moment, the golden years of parenting, grandparenting. And who better to join me than someone who has shaped the imaginations of generations of children, someone who has been fearless in telling stories that matter, and someone who now embraces the joy of reading, storytelling, and parenting from the vantage point of both a parent and a grandparent, the one and only Paro Anand. Paro is a prominent figure and torchbearer in Indian children's literature, known for addressing complex childhood themes, including conflict, difference, and identity. Her notable books include No Guns at My Son's Funeral, Like Smoke, originally published as Wild Child and Other Stories, and Babies in My Heart. No Guns at My Son's Funeral explores the life of a Kashmiri boy involved in a conflict, while Like Smoke deals with difficult themes like communal hatred and personal loss from a young person's perspective. These works give voice to children in conflict zones and those growing up with difference. She has also worked institutionally as head of the National Center for Children's Literature at the National Book Trust and has set up libraries and readers' clubs in rural and underserved areas of India. Paro has received both national and international recognition. She was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Bal Sahitya Puraskar in 2017 for her collection Wild Child and Other Stories, later republished as Like Smoke 20 Teens 20 Stories. She has also been honored by the Russian Center for Science and Culture and by former Indian President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam for her literary contributions. But beyond the awards, what I admire most is her absolute commitment to the truth, empathy, and storytelling as an act of empowerment. And today we get to meet Paro not only as a writer, but as a parent and a grandparent to hear about the children in her life who have been shaping her stories and the stories that have in turn shaped her children. Paro, welcome to Parenthood. I am so
thank
thrilled
you.
and honored that you're here with me on this special episode. To start with, tell us a bit about your children and your grandchildren.
Okay. Well, my children, and one is now in her 40s.
Wow.
My daughter Aditi is a filmmaker, and she has uh, just recently released a film which is doing remarkably well. It's called Bison,
Nice.
and if there would be one word to describe her, it would be bedharak.
Wow.
Bedharak, like go for it, just try it. And she is a person who uh, nothing is impossible. And
Wow.
yeah, so she works in Tamil cinema, uh, doesn't speak Tamil, but there it is, Bedharak.
Bedharak.
I'll do it. Yeah. And she's doing some incredible films. She and her partner, um, Susan, they adopted a wonderful little boy, Kul, who's now 5 years old.
Wow.
And then my son and his partner, Parth, they have two wonderful children, also 5 years old. So it was like,
Wow.
I mean, for everybody, the lockdown 2020 was such a difficult time. But for
Yeah.
us, in the month of August, we got three grandchildren.
Wow.
my my son is a he. I studied at Oxford, and he is a person full of drive, and it was very interesting seeing him come out of a completely different kind of mindset. He was a very clingy, whiny child, and I used to tell people that I have a daughter and a mosquito.
Oh.
Because she would be, running, doing stuff and all of that. She had great tenacity.
Uh-huh.
And my son would be, and he used to speak in this high pitched whine. And I finally got him out of it by saying, I have a problem with my hearing, and um, I can't hear at that pitch. So you'll have to speak
Wow.
in a more normal voice. And so, and so he would say, and I'd say, and he'd say, Mommy, can I have something? And I'd say, "Yeah, now I can hear you." And so he got used to talking in a non whine.
Wow.
He used to weep so much going to school, going to nursery school. I had to
Mhm.
quit my job
Wow.
because I had to go and sit in his classroom and then gradually move towards the door, gradually move to a little desk and chair outside the door. But it had to be right in his eye line because he would lean forward, check that I was there. I couldn't move. And until one day he just decided it's okay. Now I can do this on my own. And
Oh.
then when he went to big school, the whole process started again.
Wow.
But when he was leaving school, and school really made it, they were at Sardar Patel Vidyalaya, he really flourished
Mhm.
because, and he wept so much leaving, and the Didi
Wow.
who had seen him come in and now was seeing him go out, she said, rote rote
आया
आया,
था.
अब रोते रोते जा रहा है. Because he became head boy, he was the leader of everything. Some parents actually, we accidentally overheard them complaining to the principal that Uday was getting every opportunity and other children want. So he was that child,
Right.
favorite child that kids like me resented. So, and my daughter, Bedharak, would, be involved in everything except academics. So it was a very difficult thing. My husband and I would say, okay, um, should we go and get Uday's report card first or Aditi's? Because Aditi would be in the, retests, scraping the bottom,
Hmm.
an extremely intelligent child, but just could not do that, following the rules and
Yeah.
sitting down and writing these 2-hour papers and things. Um, and then Uday, his name would be up on the board. He had topped the class every time. And, so it was quite a challenge to be to be the parents of these two extremes. But yeah, it was also very, very uh, heartwarming,
Hmm.
challenging. But it was like text. It was, what should I say? It was like a manual on parenting.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that, and then nephews and nieces came along, and I was a mother to them as well. Uh, so yeah, I've brought up those 6 children, and now there are the 3 grandchildren.
Wow. And when your children were growing up, Paro, what role did books and stories play in your home?
Well, I used to tell them stories, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and so like some later on when I became more established as a writer, and as a person who would go into schools and things, and the children would say, "Oh, you're very boring. You have such a boring story." And I said, people pay me to tell them stories. But they're really proud of me and
Yeah.
proud of the achievements. And it was uh, No Guns at my son's funeral. It had recently come out. And my son was going to a friend's house
Hmm.
straight from school. So he wanted to present the book to him as a gift. So he went to the Khan Market bookstore and he's picked it up and standing to pay. And another customer standing next to him, an old gentleman, looked at this 12-year-old child and the book that he was buying. And he said, "Beta, don't buy this book."
Hmm.
So he said, "Why?" He said, "It doesn't look like a good book.
Uh-huh.
There's no guns at my son's funeral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why should a child be buying such a book?"
Yeah.
And his, my son said, "My mother wrote it." And this old gentleman looked, saying, "My bichara, poor tender child being corrupted by his mother." And I must say that it's been quite heartwarming to see how much um, how brave children's literature has become in India.
Yeah, yeah. And that, that brave, you talked about the braveness, and, you have always written fearlessly about difficult realities that children live with or children have. Do you think your own parenting journey somehow shaped that courage in your writing?
Absolutely. And there's one particular incident.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter and I were walking on the street in the evening, winter evening. We were walking on the road right in front of the house, and a guy on a cycle whizzed past and he grabbed my breast.
Oh.
And I screamed out loud, and whatever, people chased him and all, but he got away. When we were sitting at the dining table, and people were going to ask what happened, and my daughter's there, and my husband said, "Listen, just say that he grabbed your chain.
Mm.
Don't say he grabbed your breast."
Mm.
Because, my father in law is there. They're extremely liberal people. Um, so I was going to say it, but as soon as somebody asked what happened, my daughter looked at me.
Oh,
I said, "No,
yeah,
I didn't do anything wrong. I don't need to hide this.
yeah,
So, and I'm not going to give her a situation where something like this happens to her and she has to hide it."
yeah.
So I said, "This man grabbed my breast." And I said to my husband afterwards, he totally got it. And he said, "Yeah, you were right. It had to be like that."
Yeah, yeah.
So, yes, I started out as a writer. My first book is called Pepper the Capuchin Monkey. And that is based off a lie that I told in when I was in class 7,
Mm-hmm.
that I had a pet monkey. And this was a lie that grew and grew and grew and became like quite, I became quite famous for it, and everybody believed it until, of course, the lie was discovered. So the first book is about telling lies. And I always say that, what is storytelling except telling lies? But it's much later that when I was working with children in difficult circumstances, that I realized there are truths out there that
Mm.
need to be told and need to be heard.
Yeah,
You know, um, yes, the children who I'm writing about may never read what I'm writing,
yeah,
but but those who will read it are the ones who will go on and perhaps be in a position to make a difference. And maybe because of the stories that they have heard and read, have the heart and the courage to speak up.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And you talked about, being more aware about how will your children react and how will your children respond. But did motherhood also make you more sensitive to the inner lives of the children? Like, did writing about them change the way or shape the way you parented them?
I think at the time when I was sort of actively in their lives in a more uh, visceral way,
Yeah.
perhaps at that time I was still writing softer stories, maybe.
Hmm.
Uh, Softer, I don't know, maybe not softer, but safer.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know whether my writing impacted the way I was parenting. But yes, this whole idea of speaking up
Hmm.
and the courage to be disruptive if you felt it was needed.
Yeah.
Um, and my son said, actually, I was invited to speak at Harvard University on the the role of no what the role of disruptive children's literature.
Uh-huh.
Um, and my son afterwards said that I think that's where I learned that not to not to fall into boxes.
Wow.
And my daughter certainly doesn't fall into boxes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they have taken the courage. I don't know whether I can take any credit for that, but certainly as parents, both Keshav and I, mm, to speak up, to stand up, to question, to include. These are all things that they saw us do. And I think that is the key of parenting is not to teach it, but to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so to be polite and inclusive of somebody who works for you, to
Yeah.
ask them about their lives,
Yeah.
to be understanding of their difficulties. Uh, I, as a teacher, now that's another kind of parenting, really.
Yeah.
As a teacher, I was asked to come into a school when the UN had this charter of human rights and against racial discrimination. There was a charter that
Yeah.
children were to sign, and I was asked to by a school to come and talk to the children because they said we don't just want them to
Yeah.
blindly sign. We want them to know what it is, and then make a choice, a conscious choice, whether they wanted to, whether it's something they believed in or not. Um, so, as part of that, I asked the kids to write everything they knew about themselves and then about other members of the family. So, all of them did it, lots about themselves, lots about parents, siblings, uh, you know, um, and that's it, handed it in. And then I said, who else lives in your house? And it was um, oh, Nani comes to visit sometimes. Um, there's an uncle who had come to stay with us for some time. So wrote down a few things about. I said, who else? This was a very privileged school.
Yeah.
So who else? They said, and then the laughter started. Oh, dog, cat. You know, somebody said gunman.
Hmm.
So what do you know about him? Nothing. Know their name? No. Who else lives in your house? They didn't know who else lived in their
Wow.
house. Maybe,
Invisible.
yeah. They didn't see, they saw dogs and cats, which is wonderful as
Yeah.
family, which we do too, but not the maids who
Yeah.
cooked for them and fed them, cleaned their homes, washed their clothes.
Wow.
Didn't see them as people. And so I kept pushing it. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? then one or two would say, like, the maid.
Hmm.
Like, it was a question. You really want me? And what do you know about them? Nothing.
Nothing.
Mm.
Hmm.
So that was, from there talking about, because of course they knew racial discrimination as slavery, as
Yeah.
apartheid, and caste system. No, that used to be, but no longer. But then when they realized that it was here within our own homes,
Yeah.
that it became a more significant conversation.
Wow. Wow. That's such a, and I think it's relevant even today. Like, even if I don't know how many years have passed since you might have had that
Yeah,
incident,
yeah,
if we have this kind of conversation today, I don't think a lot has changed.
sadly not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's and and that really brings me to, this whole question of balancing protection with honesty. As a parent, as a storyteller, as a human life observer, how do you navigate, how do you as a person navigate that line as a writer, and how do parents navigate that line according to you, uh, I mean, for their children, with their children?
yeah. This thing of safety is something that I keep challenging parents with. I have had books that have been banned out of schools.
Yeah.
When the school had recommended it, and the it had been part of the set of books that went home the beginning of the year, and a group of what I call WhatsApp parents
Yeah.
got together got together and raised an objection, threatened the school and everything. The school had to withdraw it. And when this was happening, of course, I was very distressed. And I said, let me talk to the parents.
Yeah.
Ban it by, you want to replace the book, replace it, doesn't matter. Let me just have a conversation with the
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, sadly. But I think, what was it that was objected to is I asked the school, I said, at least tell me this, that.
Yeah.
And some of, sometimes some things of what I write, I agree that, okay, could be changed. For instance, in another book, in this one, The Other,
Yeah.
there's a story called So Cinderella. And the first line of the story is Cinderella, now there's a bitch if you ever want one. Oh, thing like that. And the editor very rightly said, Paro, let's not use the word bitch because it'll just get straight banned out.
Hmm.
And I thought, yeah, that's true. And over this one little thing, do I want it banned? No. Um, and so I changed it to witch.
Oh.
The kids knew exactly what I had actually meant to say.
Yeah.
And they said, You didn't you didn't actually write witch. You wanted to write something else. So much for protection and banning. But the book that I'm talking about, From Light Smoke, which was the book that was banned, um, there was a Muslim boy and a Hindu girl who exchange a briefcase.
Hmm.
And it's part of a story that, you know, that they are enacting the prince and the frog and that story. And it's a very tender book, a very, very, very important, I think, story. And that was what the objection was. Now, do children know that they shouldn't be kissing in school? Of course, they know the
Yeah.
rule. Do some of them break that rule? Yeah. Does this story encourage you to say, okay, go out and kiss every guy you like? No,
No.
not at all.
Yeah.
It's just that connection I wanted made because the story is about a Kashmiri Pandit girl who um, whose father is killed in Kashmir, and they flee and come to Delhi or wherever, somewhere in the plains.
Yeah.
Um, and she is brought up then to hate Muslims.
Hmm.
And the first line of that story is, I hate Muslims. First line of the book. And it's incredible that that's the book that won the Sahitya Academy Award. I'm so proud that that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, as the story progresses, this girl, she immediately has a crush on this very handsome boy. She has to do an activity. She's paired with him. When she learns his name, and it's Khalid, it's a Muslim name, she immediately sort of draws back and hates on him. And he says to her, he's perturbed.
Yeah.
They've just met. So
Yeah.
he says, I don't know why you're so angry, but what I don't understand is, why are you angry at me? So she breaks down and she says, okay, I'll tell you. And it's just the two of them sitting, behind the bushes. They've all been broken up into groups. And this girl breaks down and she says, okay, I'll tell you the truth. My father is dead and he was killed by a Muslim bomb. So this boy in turn gets angry and he says, um, all Muslims are not terrorists
Hmm.
and bombs don't have a religion,
Hmm.
is the line he says. And then the story goes on. In a school in Jaipur, uh, we heard the story, and then in the question time, this one boy very bravely stood up and he said, Ma'am, I want to ask you a question. I said, sure. He said, in your line, you say all Muslims are not terrorists. I'll agree with you on that, but you'll have to agree with me that almost all terrorists are Muslims.
Wow.
And what do you have to say about that? Now, my first thought is, where does a 12-year-old know this from?
Yeah.
This is the dinner time conversation along with khana and nourishment. We are also feeding them hate,
Yeah.
right? As parents. So we really have to be careful of what are we conveying.
Yeah.
And sometimes in conversations with each other where we don't realize how much the kids are absorbing.
Yeah.
So, so the uh, I don't know where the answer came from. Came to
Hmm.
be. I thought of it before. I slowly started walking towards this boy, and I said, "Okay, beta, let's do one thing. Let's leave aside terrorism for a moment. Let's take another issue. Let's take the issue of rape."
Hmm.
Immediately, the teachers were kind of, "Oh,
What
she's
is she
used
talking
our
about?
word, right?" I said, "Do you know what rape is?" Of course, they knew, but
Yeah.
I wanted to say it for the teachers.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them about
Yeah.
something they don't know. They know it.
Yeah.
So I said, let's take the crime of rape. I said, I said, of course, we can all agree that all men are not rapists. Of course
Hmm.
not. I said, but you'll have to agree with me that almost all rapists are men.
Wow.
So, using your logic,
Hmm.
let's hate all men.
Hmm.
Let's not give them admission in our schools. Let's not give our homes on rent to them. Let's not let our daughters marry men. And how ridiculous is that? It's the
Yeah.
end of the world situation.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I said, so do you agree with this? And I said, Beta, I don't know you. I don't know your name. And by this time, I'm like nose to nose with him.
Yeah.
There was this much space between us. I said, so Beta, I don't know you. I don't even know your name, but I'll hate you because you're a potential rapist. Comfortable with that? Agree with that? It's your logic. And this boy had balled up his fists. And the teachers from the corners of my eye, I could see were kind of ready to, react.
Yeah.
The hall was pin drop silence. And then suddenly the whole auditorium, and it was a packed auditorium of about 800 students, they were up on their feet and clapping.
Wow.
The thunderous standing ovation.
Wow.
And afterwards, as I left, this boy came to me and he said, thank you. And he said, I finally understand and I finally know what to tell somebody when they give this back.
Wow.
So,
I finally know what to tell when someone gives
yeah,
this argument. I had goosebumps all throughout, and I think this is what the power of stories right there is. And how I'm just like, I want you to talk to all the parents. I want you to talk to all the children and just tell them in this, not even tell them, just show them,
yeah,
how you
yeah,
did. And
yeah.
it is so important for people to realize these little truths of life, which,
Also, to not underestimate children. I think this is
yeah,
a key thing.
yeah,
Is it children have open access
yeah,
now,
yeah,
right? We may protect them at home, but even in the home, they're accessing stuff on the net.
absolutely.
That is information coming at them. It's not knowledge.
Yeah.
And we need to process them we need to help them process that information into knowledge.
Yeah, yeah,
This is key
yeah.
to trust them, not underestimate them. And if I can just share one little thing
Absolutely. Yeah.
again with, so I was writing this one, the other, which is Stories of Difference. It's a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
The R is
Yes.
pushed out. So it's just stories of difference. And I was writing it and I was, deadlines were whizzing past because my mother was on her deathbed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I was sitting with her, and in those long periods of silence, I was writing this book. And because of that space, emotional space that I was in, I wrote a story called Grief is a Beast. And in that, it's about a child losing a parent,
Mm,
a mother. After the book came out, because it was so overdue, after the book came out, I wondered whether I'd made a mistake and put in a story that wasn't appropriate for
mhm.
the teenagers that I was writing for. And I thought, this was a bit of self indulgence. And for the first time, I felt maybe gone overboard. I went to a school and they were studying this book. And I said, I have time to read you one of the stories. Which one do you want me to read? They all said, Grief is a Beast. And I said, I'm not sure I can read it
Mm.
because it's,
Yeah.
I would cry. And they said, ma'am, can we read it for you?
Oh.
Oh, wow. And they read it. A few of them got up onto I sat in the audience. We were all weeping together.
No.
Boys, the girls, all of them. And I thought, yeah, I underestimated what they
Yeah.
were able to take. They were able to.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, have you have you written any after that? Like, have you did you started writing more openly? Did something open up for you after that moment?
Absolutely. Every time children really show me that I'm on the right path, you know,
Yeah.
their reactions, their insights. I had children discussing a book, Weed. They were talking about it, and then they had to read passages from it at Bluebell School. Um they were studying the book and they were talking about it. And for a moment, I was so drawn in that I thought, oh, wow, I wonder who wrote this book. Because it's a sounds like an amazing book, must read it. And then of course, the next thing was that, oh, I wrote it. Um, but yeah, their insights, their takeaways. Another amazing incident. This was with children in the from the walled city who had come to a particular place. I was telling some stories, and I told a ghost story, and I told a story about domestic violence. I don't know if I have that book. Yeah, it's a most wonderful title called "I'm Not Butter Chicken. You Can't Order Me."
Wow.
so um, So the uh, so I told these two stories. The second story is called Bablu's Bhabi, which is about domestic violence.
Hmm.
Afterwards, all the children had run off. One girl remained behind, and she said, Are these true stories?"
Hmm.
I said, "Hmm, पता नहीं आप बताओ."
Hmm.
Says कि जो भूत वाली है वो हकीकत नहीं हो सकती, पर जिसमें भाभी की पिटाई होती है वो हकीकत है.
Wow.
So I said, how do you say with so much confidence that that
Hmm.
is the story? She looked at me and she said, क्योंकि मेरे घर में भी यही होता. By which time several children had come back. Many talked of and shared stories of domestic violence that they had witnessed, heard of, seen in neighborhoods, families, whatever. And I asked them, I said, what do you feel when this happens? And out of the many things, the one word that they kept saying was bebas. We feel helpless.
Yeah.
And then one child said, maybe I can't do what happened in the story because in a story anything can happen, but in life anything can't.
Wow.
So I said, so what can you do? So this boy says, जब मैं बड़े हो जाऊंगा मेरी शादी हो जाएगी और मेरी लड़ाई हो जाएगी बीवी के साथ तो मैं गुस्से करूंगा लड़ लूंगा हाथ नहीं उठाऊंगा
Oh.
मैं ये कर सकता हूँ एंड देन सम ऑफ द गर्ल्स सेड हाँ हम मार खाएंगे हम नहीं
Hmm.
खाएंगे
Hmm.
एंड देन वी टॉक्ड अबाउट इकोनॉमिक इंडिपेंडेंस and the need for different mindset on domestic violence. And then many shared that when you go to the police, the policemen are men, and so they say that हाँ ये छोटी मोटी चीजें हो ही जाती you know
Uh-huh.
um, and how do you counter that? And then after that I wrote another story in Like Smoke um, on mm, empowering children more because of this boy who said what happens in a story, but we can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
beautiful, beautiful. I I now want to take you to your life as a grandparent a little bit.
Mm.
You've spoken about how becoming a grandparent felt like opening a new chapter in your life. Can you share what that transition was like emotionally for you?
Um, it was a strange thing when my first grandson was born. He was in Bombay. I mean, they were the babies were born in Bombay. We couldn't go because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
So you become a grandparent, but you can't see the child,
Yeah.
and there's no family there. And but that instant love, that instant, I was a puddle. I was a puddle. And all of my children are wonderful storytellers to their children.
Hmm.
They get stories every night. They've had a library since the day they came home.
Hmm.
There's been a library for them, and they've been read to every single day.
Hmm.
There are stories read to them. So they
Yeah.
go off and pre-reading. They're just 5. So they have now started reading a little bit, letters and such, some words, but they
Yeah.
can't read.
Yeah.
But they read.
Yeah.
And in fact, my son is reading Harry Potter because these kids were so involved in magic, and they were kind of going the way of the, what are they called? The Avengers and such like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he started reading Harry Potter. They are so involved with it. And again, don't underestimate. I would never have started reading Harry Potter to them. I was looking forward to when they get to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
But goodness, they love it. They like one of them. His threat to me is, and I was not bending to his whim, and I said no, like a hard no, and he said, "I'll put you in Slytherin." And they can do all the spells and all of that. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So every day they get 4 pages. So that is the amazing thing about parenting, grandparenting is the reading part of it. So yeah, coming back to, I mean, that instant love, I did, like my daughter and daughter-in-law's baby, when we went to get him, the minute I saw him, it was a kind of love I never experienced.
Not even with your children?
I don't know, because I think as a parent, you've been through that whole process of pregnancy and delivery, and I had cesareans, and so I was coming out of this fog of anesthesia, and there was my own pain and all of this. Of course, I loved them, and that love
Yeah.
kept going, and breastfeeding made that bond just another level altogether. But the love for these grandchildren, I mean, I miss them from the core of my being, because with with parents, when I was a parent at least, there were times when I couldn't wait for them to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the grandchildren to come. I've never for a minute wanted them to just go. Okay, now done, off you go kind of thing. No, uh, I miss them every minute.
Oh. and and tell me, Paro, how have your relationships with your children evolved since you became a grandparent?
Well, parenting is a new thing now.
Yeah.
Um, they're quite strict as parents to me, to us
Yeah.
as the grandparent.
You can't do this, you can't do that, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't, that this isn't the way, and this and that. And like, I know I was staying with my son and his partner uh, when the babies were little, and they were doing sleep training.
Hmm.
They'd read somewhere about sleep training, and that the children must learn to put themselves to sleep. and the children would be the babies would be howling.
Mm.
I couldn't bear it. I'd be walking on the street outside, weeping, and I wouldn't come home until I was sure they were asleep. And if that baby monitor, I heard them crying, it would take every kind of self will to not burst into the room and say, okay, I'll cuddle you. And I mean, I really feel this thing of not cuddling your children through the night. And then, look, as a parent, it was different because we only had one bedroom.
Yeah.
There was my husband and me and two kids in one room.
Yeah.
And so they were in our bed.
Yeah.
There wasn't any other thing to do. My daughter and her partner go sleep with their son, but not the not my son.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't agree with it. I know that they really like cuddling.
Yeah.
And I know that they really want it. But I miss not being able to break that rule. But I have to keep reminding myself, I'm not the parent. I'm not the parent. I'm not the parent. And I know that in Parenthoot, in another episode which I had watched, was this thing of no sugar,
Yeah.
um, which to us was like strange, but I totally agree with that. The more one knows now, and perhaps that is a good thing to do. But I don't. I think that age-old wisdom,
Hmm.
there's a value to it. And I know that with a lot of my friends and their children also, they feel, uh, what should I say, that grandparenting isn't valued enough. The
Hmm.
age old wisdom isn't valued enough,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And
I think there needs to be a balance between them.
yeah, yeah. And talking of that, like you said that I am a parent, I am navigating grandparenting with respect to both sets of my parents, like
Sure.
we we tell them, well, this you can't do this, you can't do that, and I get that struggle. But as a grandparent, how do you navigate the boundaries between parents and grandparents, especially around these things, values, screen time, or how,
Yeah.
in general, children are raised today?
Yeah. I certainly agree with the screen time. Um, I think rules are there for a purpose, and I am no way wanting to break those rules.
Yeah.
And I'm no way wanting to challenge anybody's thoughts on parenting. No. But I think there is also a value of sometimes having those times of breaking those rules and bending those, not breaking maybe, but bending certainly, because that's coming anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so kind of just as there should be what is called the gentle parenting, that you're not smacking the kid, um, but you are feeling, sort of you're trying to negotiate the feelings of the child and all of this. Um, Sometimes very challenging to do. So I agree with that. But I think they also could be balanced out with a gentle bending as well.
Yeah.
You know, there is a value in that.
Yeah.
So if bedtime gets pushed a little bit, if there's a little extra TV time, and if there is, and or like, you made halwa together or something like that, and the kid
Yeah.
gets it. The children wanted to go shopping one day, and so we went there and we gave them all their shopping baskets, and they could fill up their own shopping baskets. And so they were picking up lollipops and this and that. But then there were some things, and I said, oh, that's for grown ups. And immediately they put it back.
Yeah.
they got that. And what was very lovely is that they brought all this stuff back. We made their packets, we put them in the fridge, and they know that those things are there. And so when they come, they open the fridge, they take out one thing, and then they should, because they want that to last,
Yeah,
you know,
how beautiful.
also. So
Yeah,
it's not as though they've overloaded on sugar, but they've bent that rule a bit
yeah, yeah.
in a fun way. And we made them do the shopping, we made them do the paying,
Hmm.
and all of that. So it was fun. It was a fun outing.
Yeah, yeah. And you have said your grandchildren
Your
inspired.
voice has become a little softer.
Oh, is this
Yeah,
better now?
yeah, yeah.
Inspired you to write Babies in My Heart, which was,
Yeah,
and its Hindi version, Dil Mein Bachcha
yeah,
Hai Ji.
yeah.
So now again, your storytelling has shifted to more
Yes,
gentler, intimate
yes,
themes. How did that shift happen?
yes. That is true. Although not all of it. I am doing,
Yeah,
some. I don't think I have Dil Mein Bachcha Hai Ji, but I'll talk about these together. So
yeah,
this is
yeah.
मैं बिल्ली नहीं हूँ, which I wrote in Hindi, and then the publisher said, "Why don't you do it in English as well?" So I translated it. It's now in 22 languages,
Wow.
and so Dil Mein Bacha Hai Ji actually came when I hadn't yet met the children. They
Oh,
were expected, they were on the way, but we hadn't yet met them. And so it was that longing for, and wrote a whole lot. I wrote something called A Grandmother's Heart, which is that, it's bigger than anything, it's wider than anything. It's not a published book. I just wrote it for the grandchildren.
yeah.
Mm, but yeah, so Dil Mein Bacha Hai Ji was written when we were still not yet able to hold them in our own hands. But this is a book, uh, which came when, um, they keep asking for stories. So at lunchtime, dinner time, they would ask for a story. So I started making up this story about different sounds and different ways of communication. And what was fun about it, then they all shout together, the meow, bhau, and cuckoo, cuckoo, and all of this. So they're all doing it together, and then they have to remember the sequence of the names in which they come. So this book actually has the children's names in it
Wow.
and their friends' names in it. So it's great fun because they this was their back present with, and so many parents said, "Oh, how amazing, can we get a book like this also?" And
Hmm.
you know no.
Sorry, you're not.
And one of the girls who's in it, Mia, she said to her friends, because she gave some copies to her cousin, she says, मैं इस बुक में नहीं हूँ, मैं इस बुक में हूँ, आप नहीं हो.
नहीं हूँ.
So they're very happy with this book. And then there's another book which will be coming, I hope, this year in 2026. Uh, there were paintings on the wall, my
Hmm.
uncle's paintings, and they asked, "What's the story? What's happening in that painting?" So on the spot, I was making up this story, and then there's a painting just next to it. And they said, "And then what happens in that story?" So
Right.
they were reading it like a picture book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a painting. So then I included the second painting into the first one story and all of that. And actually, they love it.
Hmm.
And every time they have friends over and all, and say,
So there's
"Can you tell the
the-
Lajvanti story? Can you tell the Lajvanti story?" And it's actually great fun. And it's also a lovely introduction to senior artists and
yeah.
art. Um, and so, like, they're reading very complex books on Picasso and
Mm.
and there are fabulous books now available to
Yeah.
course and take them. I mean, as a parent, as a grandparent, in Russia, you see grandparents taking their grandchildren to museums and to art galleries, and they can telling them stories about it. I just want to, sorry, I'm giving very long answers.
No, 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 no. This is exactly what we want.
In I think it was in either in the Museum of Modern Art or at the Tate Modern. I'm forgetting which art museum it was in. Um, I was walking through on my own, pre grandchildren, and there was a teacher with very small, like toddlers, coming into the to a modern art gallery. At first, I was a bit irritated because I said,
Hmm.
it disturbed my experience.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then because I was in the same gallery, this teacher made the children sit down in front of a painting and said, okay, look at this painting. What kind of time of day is it? So they looked at it carefully and they said, it's morning. So how do you know? So, because there's the sun. So, but there's no sun. Where's the sun? So I said, no, but there's sunlight.
Hmm.
Okay. So then he said, is it a windy day or is again looked carefully and said, it's a windy day. How do you know? So because the plants are all bent this way and the wheat is bent this, whatever the. And then, so like, now can you tell what time of day it might be? And then they're looking at the shadows, see which
Ah,
way the shadows are falling. And the kind of interaction that they were experiencing with this one painting. And I thought, really, we need to not have high art,
yeah,
but accessible art.
yeah.
And so I really think that as parents and as schools, we should be taking our children for exhibitions,
Hmm.
not art students to study art only,
Yeah.
but to look at paintings in a way of understanding and appreciation,
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And you talked about art, but also I want to talk about reading aloud as
yeah.
to kids. You've spent almost a lifetime championing the power of books for children, and both as a parent and a grandparent, and of course more as an author for children. What does reading aloud mean to you?
Mm. So there was a time when writers children's writers were these very sort of, tucked away in a mountain and writing
Like
all
you are right now.
like I am right now. And I actually love it. I love this quiet time I had spent earlier this year. I am just writing. It's
Wow.
fabulous. But now there's another hat that we do have to don, which is writer as performer.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because, uh, and parent as performer,
Hmm.
grandparent as performer. Because there was a wonderful writer when I first started out. She was she used to write fabulous books. There's a book called A Moment of Truth, and I think it's out of print now. But she would read like this,
Oh.
beginning, and the audience was not engaged.
Yeah.
And that was a lesson for me saying, no, yes, hold the book. in your hand. And I would say this to parents and grandparents, teachers as well. Certainly hold the book in your hand, because that connection, that a book is not only a textbook,
Yeah.
it's fun, it's something which will add a lot to your life. But know the story well enough to not be reading word for word, you know. Can I do a little
Yes,
demonstration?
please. Yes, please.
I'm going to read from
Wow.
Wingless, a fairly weird fairy tale. I keep being, booksellers, whenever I have new books out and they're taking me to schools, and they say, "Ah, but Wingless zarur karna," because it sells. That's
Yeah.
a connection, that once I've read bits of this, every child
Hmm.
wants it. So this is a Wingless, a fairly weird fairy tale. A princess is born. When Princess Chutki was born to the king and queen of angels, there should have been much rejoicing and happiness. There should have been a smile on the face of everyone who lived in the diamond and silver land, where King Quicksilver and Queen Sparkling Gem ruled justly and wisely, just as any good king and queen should in any good fairy tale. There should have been feasts, there should have been gifts, but instead of that, smiles were replaced by frowns, or even tears, real watery, salty tears. Not the tiny diamonds and pearls that angels weep on the few occasions when angels weep. And those who wept the hardest of all were King Quicksilver and Queen Sparkling Gem. They had hoped for a perfect little baby, and she was perfect. Well, almost. But she wasn't perfect enough. What was wrong with her? What was wrong with her, Neha?
She was a girl. She was
Was
wingless.
she was wingless. The king and queen must have done something very bad to have had a daughter like this. The kingdom of angels is doomed. Since we must kill this freakish princess before she kills us. She has brought hell to heaven. She must be punished. She must be killed.
Wow. Wow. I don't
And then
want the story to end.
and that's the feeling you want, right?
Yeah.
And then and then I get them to shout and join in, and they're all shouting. In a school, I say, because they all have to shout, kill her, kill her, kill her.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, let's shout loud enough so that the other classes wonder what's happened, who are they going to kill. Let's shout loud enough for the guards to hear so that they think maybe they need to come in. So like, let's see if we can get the principal to come running in to see what's happening.
Yeah.
So they're shouting loud, and it's great fun.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not about killing the princess. The story eventually, it's about a story of difference.
Yeah.
And I was writing No Guns at my son's funeral, and it's such a difficult, emotionally challenging story to be writing, and it was I needed to relieve myself a bit, and I wanted to write a funny story. But at that time, there'd also been a couple of other interactions with children where I had known I needed to write a story on a story on disability.
Hmm.
Now, how do you write a story on disability, which is also funny without being disrespectful? And I was very lucky that Wingless flew to me winglessly,
Winglessly.
winglessly. Yeah, and it just it just came. And so I wrote those two books together.
Wow, wow. It doesn't, I mean, if you hadn't told us this, I think nobody could ever imagine that those two books were written together, you know. It's so heartwarming to hear these stories of you reading to children and in that I mean, while talking about that, do you have any favorite memories of reading to either your own children or now to your grandchildren about from your books?
Mhm. Yeah, was reading. I don't think I brought that here. Um, I was reading um, this book to my children called um, "The Little Bird Who Held the Sky Up with His Feet."
Yeah.
And what was fascinating to them was seeing the story develop from something that we all saw to a seed idea
Mm,
to a story that grew to a published book.
wow.
And um, having them as companions through the process
Yeah.
of it, was very powerful. Uh, this one, I'm not butter chicken, you can't order me, was also interesting because I had this line popped into my head.
Hmm.
I'm not butter chicken, you can't order me. And I thought, what a sassy line,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started writing a story about a newly teenaged girl
Hmm.
who's challenging and pushing the boundaries and all of that. And um, she gets into a fight with her father. And she says this to her dad: I'm not butter chicken, you can't order me. And she runs off to her room. And so I'm writing this story, and I'm thinking it's going to be about this, pushing boundaries, teenagers, and that the father and mother, and then of course they'll be happy family again.
Yeah.
Instead, the story turned totally to a very bizarre place of, and very spooky, very weird. Not at all what I had intended when I started out. And the story was flowing, and then it stopped. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I left it on my computer and I told the kids to read it. My daughter read it, Aditi read it, and she said, Ma, just leave it there. It's so strange that don't bring it to a proper ending. Leave it hanging. It's that kind of story. So I said, I don't know whether I'll get a publisher who will be,
Yeah.
okay with that. And this was so long ago because when publishing was more conservative. But anyway, I said, okay, let's see. Then my son read it, and when Uday came back to me and said, just leave it. It's fine as it is. Everybody draws their own conclusions, and you can have a story like that. And I said, okay. And then I went back to read the story, and the spooky bit had gone.
Oh, wow.
It had just got erased.
That is spooky.
That
That.
is spooky. And, we tried to retrieve it. We called in a computer person to try and, it was gone.
How
Why?
can that be?
And all that was left was the part that I had intended in the first place about this fight between the, girl and her dad.
But you are spooking me out, Paro.
It did not. I think it had come to me by accident. Maybe it was meant for somebody else. Maybe it's still floating around,
You are
going to
spooking me
another.
further.
But it was good. And then I just sat in front of the screen with a paragraph and a half of what I had intended and nothing of what had come. And I'm wondering, did I really write it? Did I asked my kids and they said, yeah, of course. And it's not there, it's gone. And so I wrote the story as I had originally
Wow.
intended it to be.
Wow. Wow.
But
Okay.
it's true, this thing of writing, I I think all writing, definitely for children, you have to create characters so authentic and believable that you become them.
Yeah.
And then you have to let them, like, then they're your children,
Yeah.
but they're not. They're now
Yeah.
leading their own lives. And
Yeah.
you've got to let them take the lead,
Yeah.
as you do with your children as a parent. It's the same with the characters that I'm writing, because I become them. And then I'm not Paro writing the story at all. I'm Aftab writing, or Nitya writing the story or whatever. It's not me.
Yeah. 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 I want you to give us an advice, Paro. Like, tell us, in today's world of so much happening, there is so much to distract our kids
Mhm,
with. There
mhm.
are screens, there are toys, there are, so many activities that we indulge in. How can we as parents and also grandparents reclaim the magic of storytelling at
Yeah,
home?
yeah,
Like, that organic storytelling, how can
right,
that happen?
right. Um, First of all, I totally agree with this thing of, classes after classes after classes for kids. Um, I think we undervalue the importance of boredom.
Yeah.
Boredom is a very fine thing. I've learned so much out of being bored, because then you're inventive, then you're using your inventive mind. If you're provided with something, it's there, and it gets boring pretty quick. When you have invented something, it's uh, one, it's going to last you longer.
Yeah.
So, of course, the age old image of, you buy a child an expensive toy and they're happier playing with the dabba it came in. you know,
Yeah.
it's true though. It's
Yeah.
true though. Um, so while classes are certainly very good, and I appreciate where there are two working parents, it's better to have them in a class of some value rather than having them being looked after by a maid whose own experience is limited.
Yeah.
So, um, so to that extent, I understand that, and some of the classes are wonderful. Some
Yeah.
of the spaces that kids can go to are wonderful. Um, but I think let your kids have some time when they're just bored,
Hmm.
and you pretend to be busy
Hmm.
and say, I'm sorry, I'm really busy right now, but um, you need to go and find something to do yourself, and let that inventive mind. We've all done it.
Yeah.
You know, I've never said the words, I'm bored.
Hmm.
I'm never bored, because I've always found
Found
something
something.
to do. Which brings me to storytelling and reading. A reader is never bored.
Hmm.
Um, and reading is something that you can do anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
Keep books in the car, by the nightstand, near your dining table, um, in your bag, going to a doctor's office, going to a clinic. You have to get injections done. It's a tense time. There are kids, who are ill all over. If
Yeah.
you have the book and you're telling the story, and to the child as you're waiting for your turn at the doctor's thing, it's much better
Yeah.
than the phone. And in clinics, of course, you see, well, I didn't, because mercifully my children were pre mobile phone.
Hmm.
Um, but that the parent will put on something on the phone and give the child something to watch or play, and then they have another phone on which they're doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Don't don't do that. Take a book instead.
Hmm.
It is a captive time when there's not much else to do.
Yeah.
Suppose you find yourself in a situation where
Hmm.
there isn't a story. Make that story up with the child. um, For instance, the other day I was walking with my one of the grandsons, and he was just learning to read letters.
Mm-hmm.
So he read EXIT. He
Hmm.
couldn't read it as exit, but
Yeah.
EXIT. So I said, "Gosh, it's a very interesting word, and it reads exit. It means going out. What else could be exit? Exit. What else could it be?" So he said, "Exciting."
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, so let's make this word very exciting."
Hmm.
Oh, I said, "Suppose one letter runs away. Then,"
Hmm.
and I said, "Which letter runs away?" So we're standing just at an exit sign in the
Yeah.
colony. And so he said, "The X ran away because it had legs."
Uh-huh.
And, and then we're, walking along different areas of where the X went.
Hmm.
And now the guards were looking for the X.
Hmm.
Where did it go? And now where is the X hiding? We were out for a walk, but it was such an exciting walk because the X, we were making the X go here, the
Hmm.
X go there, and sometimes do this. Um, and then how the X goes into another word. And then how do you say that word with an X? So it was we didn't have a book,
Yeah.
but it was a very exciting story that he wanted me then to write as a story, since
Ah.
Nani can write. So then he wants that as a story of how the X ran away from the exit. And now nobody knows where to go because the sign
There
doesn't
is
say it
no
anymore.
exit. Yeah.
So everybody's lost and going all over the place.
Wow.
Sir, a crow on a
Yeah.
when you're driving past or out of your window, you're seeing a crow playing with a little plastic piece. So what's happening? And it can be, we made a story about the crow mm, being part of a builder mafia who then is making the first waterproof nests
Wow.
because they have so much plastic to work with and things like that. It became a story. So just the invention, and I think that helping your kids be more inventive, giving them a problem suddenly in that story and getting them to find solutions
Yeah.
is a great problem solving um, ability that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
may develop. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am drawing from my own life here as a parent, and also, one of the parents is a little like I am a reader, my husband is not. And, my husband, of course, doesn't want my child to grow up without the love of reading and, that kind of a thing. How do you then, nurture a love of books in the children when, say, there are non-reading parents, you yourself do not read? How do you nurture that love of reading in your children?
Um, a lot is said that children aren't reading, reading habit in children is going, but I always counter that question with what about adults? Are they reading?
Yeah.
And mostly the answer is no.
Yeah.
Um, so one is to read. Okay, so I'll tell you from my childhood. My parents were great readers. My father was a journalist. My mother was a teacher. We lived in a house full of books. And there were open shelves.
Hmm.
which meant that at any age you could pick up a book from anywhere, any of the shelves. And we had this 1 hour in the evening, sort of after you came back from school, tuition, playing, classes, work, everything. The day was kind of drawing to a close. And we would sit together for 1 hour and we would put on some classical music and read. I hated that time. I hated it. My sister and parents would be deeply engrossed in books, and I'd be banging my legs on the side of the sofa, waiting for this 1 hour to be over. Um, but it that continued till I found the book which fit me.
Hmm.
Okay, so I picked up a random book from my parents' shelf, and it was a book called Born Free, by Joy Adams, and it's about them bringing up this lion cub. And I thought, oh, this is the life I want to lead. And I wanted to read other wildlife books.
Hmm.
And so my parents got me those. They got me Born Free is the first of a trilogy. So I read those two. Then after that, I wanted more. Then I read Gerald Darrell. Then I read, and I was reading a lot of animal
Hmm.
based books, thinking that I want to do something with animals. And then I came upon another book about uh, my sister was reading a book on, uh, she was reading Bertolt Brecht's plays. And of course, when your elder sister does something, you need to do exactly
Yeah.
the same thing. So I started reading it as well, loved it. And I said, oh, I want to be an actor on stage. And then I read something about space travel. Oh, I want to be an astronaut. And then, oh, I want to be an architect. And I want to, so whatever book I was reading, I wanted to be in that book. And that's the magic of reading, is that you can live many lives.
Yeah.
You can be many people. You can
Yeah.
travel the world and, into space and under the sea. But you can do all that through your books. And I can't go a day without reading now. I
Yeah.
always have books with me.
Yeah. Yeah. But even then, if parents cannot get themselves to read, how do you raise a reader?
Just spend some time with your child. Read their books. Read
Hmm.
what they are reading.
Yeah.
You might find that better than, the thing is that you as a parent, if you're not reading, it's because you've not found your book.
Yeah.
Um, just if you just pick up what your kids are reading
Hmm.
and then talk about the book with them,
Hmm.
and have lots of books around, have open access to books. Very important. School libraries are often very restrictive.
Yeah.
Um, my son, at a very young age, wanted to borrow. He had read one Asimov. He wanted to read another, wanted to show off that at such a
Yeah.
young, forgotten how old he was, wanted to read Asimov. But he was short. So he couldn't reach the A drawer of the
Shelf.
catalog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the catalog. He
Yeah.
wanted to. So he asked for the librarian's help, and she said, "What are you looking for?" He said, "Asimov." She said, "Oh, you're too young to read it." He said, "No, I've read it." She said, "No, you haven't." And that was it. He couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, as a parent, take your children to bookstores.
Hmm.
There are wonderful bookstores now for children. Take them there. Let them pick their own books, please. You can make a recommendation. And I'll just share one
Yes.
thing that I had not very long ago. One mother came into uh, a bookstore where I was looking for some books, and she had brought her young son with her, who was probably 6, 7 years old, and he had his Rakhi money to spend on books.
Hmm.
So he came in very excitedly, and he came running in, and he picked up some book, and he said, "Can I take this book?" And she said, "Do you think it's age appropriate for you?" And he looked at her. He didn't know what age
Got it.
appropriate meant.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
clear. But from her expression, he could say it read no.
No. Yeah.
So put it back. Then he picked up another one. "Can I take this?" Said, "Do you think this is?" Put it back 3 or 4 times. And she said, "Here, this is the book that you should read." And the enthusiasm that he came in with, the upbeat he came in with. And he just went up the stairs, down, what is the, it's so downcast. He probably will never read that book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Let them choose it. If it is age inappropriate, he'll get to it. He'll realize it. Let him, again, don't provide every answer.
Hmm.
Um, he'll realize it, saying, this wasn't the book for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'll pick it up maybe later because he chose it.
Yeah.
If you chose it, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah.
For,
Okay.
for your children, no matter how young, have low bookshelves where they
Yeah.
can pick out books themselves.
Yeah.
Let them choose their bedtime and things like that. And if you're not reading, if you really are not a reader and can't read, read to your kids.
Yeah.
That's also reading.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And you are reading, you're reading on the net.
Yeah.
So you are a reader.
Hmm.
But let them see you reading books, whether it's your own or theirs, reading to them.
Yeah, yeah. My son does this beautiful thing. When I get he's 2.5, and when I get him books, when I say, okay, let's read together. You read your book. Mama will read
Mm.
Mama's book. And he gets two books from his shelves. He's like, Mama, here's your book, here's my
Yeah.
book. And I find that so endearing, and I'm like, this boy doesn't differentiate between what is my literature and what is his
Right.
literature.
Yeah.
And he says, अच्छा अब हम exchange करेंगे, अब आप मेरी वाली
Ah.
book पढ़ो, मैं
Ah.
आपकी वाली book पढ़ूंगा. It's I think I find it the most. And
Yeah.
in that moment, I don't want to read my book. I want to
Yeah.
read only his books. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Paro, is there a children's book you wish you had written?
Harry Potter.
Oh,
Not only would I have written a marvelous series, but I'd be rich and famous too.
yeah.
I was sitting at a school one day, winter, and so I just found a sunny spot and I was doing some writing. And there were kids, it was break time, and some children were sort of hanging around. And from the corner of my eye, I could see they were wanting to ask me something. So I looked up and I smiled, and they came up. "You're Paro Anand, na?" I said, "Yeah." You write for children, na? I said, "Yes." "You written Harry Potter, na?" I said, "Sadly, no." But also, the boy in striped pajamas.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish I'd written that as well.
Oh,
Uh, it's so moving,
yeah.
and it's that kind of book where you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
After a point,
Yeah.
and you're trying so hard for that not to
Not
happen.
to happen.
You're being drawn to the inevitable, but yeah, very moving.
Yeah.
So those,
Beautiful.
yes,
Yeah.
not well, those seven.
and and if your grandchildren could write a book about you, what would you want its title to be?
Oh my God. Um, oh dear, what could it be? uh, the never grumpy granny, it would have to be,
Yeah,
because I'm Dadi and Nani.
yeah.
So it would have the, the never grumpy granny.
Wow, wow. And so lucky those children are to, have you as their grandmother. But tell me, Paro, but between being a writer, a parent, and now a grandparent, where do you feel most you?
Well, all I think, because I my writing is where and there were 3 years where I've not written. It's the longest time I've not written. And when I came back to it, I realized how much of my core I was missing. But does that mean I would have rather done that than the grandmothering? No. Uh, I I think also when I'm writing, I'm so deep in it, I am somebody else,
Hmm.
which is how I can do this astonishing thing, really, of writing 2 books at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because I'm so immersed in that it's a silo.
Yeah.
And then the other book is a silo. And then my family life is a silo. My storytelling and my interactions with children also, I mean, that's not a silo.
Yeah.
That leaks both ways, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, well, with grandmothering also, it's like, they are now inspiring a whole different kind of writing,
Yeah.
which I'm now using as a writer.
Yeah.
I think I think as a writer and as a parent, grandparent, you have to be very open hearted to be able to receive these things.
Yeah.
But then you also have to be, as a writer, certainly, or as a parent who's working, to be able to disassociate the two things for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You said about being inspired by your children and grandchildren's lives and how stories come to you
Mm.
because of them, in a way. But also, have there been moments where other parents or grandparents have come up to you to share how your writing supported them in their own journeys?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why this thought suddenly came of not only a parent, but in Kashmir, I was working with orphans,
Hmm.
terrorism, and none of them had fathers, some had mothers. Um, and this one boy and I just got very attached and then remained in touch. And then we sort of adopted him.
Wow.
And now he has his own twin boys as well. So I'm a
Wow.
daddy to them as well. Yeah. So, yes, parents, so many parents have said my child really liked this particular book and then recommended that I read it. And I don't read really, but I was so engrossed in this book. And um, one parent recently said that my book was the first that her child had ever read.
Wow.
And it's a book for teenagers, and he had not been a reader, and she'd been trying to get him to read until he read this one book of mine, and then you know he became a reader with that. um so many will come up to me and say, But why did you let this character die? Like the little bird who held
Yeah.
the sky with his feet, said, child is very upset with you. So I said, okay, let me talk to this child. So I did. I talked to her. And this little child said, why did you let the little bird die? She could have become little ill and then be okay, but you shouldn't have killed her. So, so then I talked a bit about it, and this mother afterwards said that it led to a very deep discussion on death,
Death.
grieving, and being heroic,
Hmm.
and sometimes going out of your comfort zone too, because um, you know that something is right. And then she said that also the child said to the parent that it's because it's like sometimes you don't think you can do something, or others don't think you can do something. But if you believe that you can, then you can and you should.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Going from where to where,
Yeah.
drawing
Yeah.
those connections themselves.
Drawing the connections. Yeah.
Wow, wow, beautiful. And I'm so amazed by your journey as a writer and of course as a parent and as someone who's touched countless lives through literature. Do you see your role as a story ancestor for future generations?
Wow. I don't know whether I can give myself
We are giving you that.
such a title, but
We are
I will
giving you
say
that.
that, some of the things that I say in this one being Gandhi,
Hmm.
or this one which is new, a girl, a tiger, and a very strange story. And the reason why I'm holding up these two together is because it looks as though they belong together. The colors, the
Hmm.
feel of it is so similar, and the message of it's done by the same illustrator who is
Mm-hmm.
Priya Kurian. Um, and for the child, I'm not sure if I'm really answering your question, and please do ask it again if I
Hmm.
haven't. Is for a child not only to be moved by what you have written, but for it to stay and for it to cook in their own minds,
Yeah.
to develop their own thoughts.
Right.
And they can, by the end of it, disagree. With being Gandhi, what this is not a book about Gandhi,
Hmm.
and it's not a book about the freedom struggle. It's set in 1984, and it's a book about um, finding your inner Gandhi, to be a change maker.
Hmm.
And how many children have said to me that it's unexpected, like when I take this book into a school and I say I'm going to read to you from being Gandhi, so often the reaction is, ah,
Oh.
because you write such interesting books, I don't want to read about Gandhi, because what they know about Gandhi
Hmm.
is very boring and dry.
Yeah.
So this is really looking at Gandhism, at the
Hmm.
spirit of Gandhi, and trying to find that within you,
Hmm.
and thinking that, okay, Gandhi was not always the Mahatma. There was a time when he was a 12-year-old child.
Yeah.
What would he do then? And
Hmm.
ask myself today, when I'm seeing something wrong going on, what would Gandhi do? And can I do that? So it's the empowerment that comes out of reading and books, and a good story well told.
Yeah.
which is what a moral story, will not do. What a moral story does, it puts a lock
Yeah.
at the end of the story. That's
Yeah,
it, done.
neatly ties it
Yeah,
all up.
done.
Yeah.
And it stops you from thinking further.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suppose there's a book that your child is bored with,
Hmm.
not wanting to finish it. And a lot of parents will say, no, but finish the book.
Hmm.
You bought it or you got it, now you have to finish it. Or it's come from the library, you have to. Okay, now what do you do? Now, as a parent, you can say, okay, like what's boring in it? It's just, I don't agree with something. Okay, so let's rework that story. Let's twist that
Hmm.
tale. Let's twist it to our own words. And let's make our own story and make it better.
Hmm.
Hmm? They'll be involved in the book.
Yeah.
Uh, Take them to literature festivals. There are wonderful festivals for children. Bukuru, which is
Yeah.
in so many cities now, um, to bookstores, to that. Yes, I don't know whether I answered your question, and if you'd
That's
like to ask
okay.
it again, do.
Let me ask you again. How do you see your role as a story ancestor
Yeah,
for future
yeah,
generations?
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, as I said, that sounds too grand for me. But going back to that story about domestic violence,
Yeah.
if that one boy, when he grows up and he's in a fight with his wife, and he stops himself from hitting his wife because he remembered the story, then my work is done.
Yeah.
That's it. That is what I wish, and that my stories connect so much that people, are actually excited when they meet years later, like children's, um, my grandchildren's parents.
Hmm.
Let's, you know, they say, "Oh, you are Paro Anand. Oh, I read your book,
Hmm.
when I was a child. And oh my God, that was the book that I read." Uh,
Yeah.
my children's college friends and things like that, when they read my books. There's somebody at Harvard who wrote to me, and she said, I attended your talk on disruptive innovation in children's literature, and she said, I've read everything of yours, and it's as though I've written it because it's from my heart.
Oh, what a thing to say.
What a thing and this is a student studying at Harvard. So,
Yeah.
I have to share one other
Yes, please.
incident with you. There was a girl who emailed me some time ago, um, and she said, "Who is your number one fan?" So I said, "Oh, I don't think I have a number one fan." So she said, "All right, if anybody ever asks you this question, you have to say it's Vibhu Sharma." So I said, "Oh, great. Um, I will say that." A while later, I get an invitation to a school. So I went into the school and I'm addressing the crowd, and there's this one child, one young girl who is very different looking. She had these sort of growths on her face and body. And so obviously you do notice her
Yeah.
because she's
Yeah.
younger. And so anyway, this thing finished, and I noticed that this girl was being led out by two other students because she had eyesight problems. A while later, and when I'm having tea and things with the staff, the principal says, "There's a surprise for you." I said, "Okay." And this girl comes in, being helped in by others, and big smile on her face. And she said, "Who's your number one fan?" And I said, Vibhu Sharma. So was this girl who was, I mean, credit to her parents and credit to the school that she was not shy and retiring at all. Her face was so disfigured. One of the growths had covered up her eye completely.
Hmm.
And um, she now represents the UN.
Wow.
And um, she had written to me then and she said, I want to write a book with you. I said, great, let's do it. You
Hmm.
start it and then we'll work together. And it was a very usual standard template love story kind of thing. So I started working on it and I said, but why don't you write about yourself? And it's incredible. She said, I don't want to write about disability. Why should I write about disability?
Hmm.
Let somebody else do that. And I loved it.
Yeah, why should the burden of writing
Yeah,
about, yeah, this
yeah.
should lie on me?
And I was like, great.
Yeah.
I said, now I'm your number one fan. Now she travels the world all over. She has been to the UN. She was the UN representative for disability and things like that. Amazing. We
Wow.
didn't write that book, but
Yeah. Yeah. There's still time, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
And and Paro, for I don't want this conversation to end, but we have to end sometime. So for my last question to you for today, what do you want your grandchildren and the grandchildren not just come who have come through you, through your children, but also all the grandchildren one day to remember most about you as their
Oh,
grandmother and as the storyteller in their lives?
hmm. That she could make up a story about anything.
Wow.
There's a lovely book, just as a parting shot. There's a beautiful book, not written by me. It's called the Song of the Asunam.
Okay.
And it's a series with C.G. Salamander and Rajiv Ipe and published by HarperCollins. If you have young children, please do get this book. And here's what you do with it. Of course, you tell the story. It's beautiful illustrations, elaborate, and it's about this little boy, Vetri, who finds his grandmother's trunk, which has a book on monsters and strange creatures, what they look like, what they eat, how to kill them, how to capture them, and all of this. So the first of it is the Song of the Asunam, which I told my grandchildren. They loved it so much that they wanted me to keep reading the same book over and over, which of course they do. But I also got them, I said, okay, I'm going to give you a sound, and now you make up all that you know about this, make up what you
Hmm.
know about this story, about this creature.
Yeah.
So I would give them a sound like shingle boat, and immediately it would be the shingle boat. The shingle boat is a no eye monster, but it can see and very poisonous. And if you come close to it, and the whole thing about this monster. So I keep giving them words, and they instantly start with. So it's that again, the inventiveness and the beauty of having the power to create your own stories.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Paro, thank you for being here,
Thank you.
for bringing your immense heart, honesty, and wisdom to this Golden Jubilee episode of Parenthood with Neha. Talking to you feels like holding a map of childhood in my hands, one
Oh,
that shows us not only the beauty and magic, but also the shadows and complexities that children live with. So, thank you.
wow! I'm going to use this quote.
I'll send it to you.
Yes, please send it to me. I'm going to, because I've often asked what's the best compliment. It goes in right there. I
Oh,
think.
that's the best compliment that I have got, that I have given you the best compliment. Now you should say, if someone asks you who gave you the best compliment, Neha.
Yeah. And go and watch the episode of Parenthoot.
Thank you. And as we celebrate 50 episodes of this podcast, I
Thank
can
you.
think of no better way to mark it than by celebrating your stories, your
Thank you.
children.
Thank you. And
And
it's
thank
such an
you.
honor that you have waited for me through many ups and downs to actually hold this spot of the Golden Jubilee episode for me. And all the best of strength and love to Parenthood and to you, Neha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And for everyone tuning in, I hope this conversation reminds you that parenting is never a finished chapter. It evolves, it deepens, and sometimes it circles back with new joys when we least expect it. Thank you, Paro, and thank you to all of you listening, reading, and sharing your journeys with me over these 50 episodes. Here's to the next 50 and many more stories of parenting, grandparenting, and everything in between. Thank you so much, and I'll see you
Thank you.
next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.